And once again, the call to the post. It can only mean we're going to recap the Belmont Stakes. Hi, everybody. Doug Miles along with Don Henderson on Sports Talk across America. And we had to have our friend Pete the Prophet come back. He was ensconced at Belmont Racetrack all weekend long with his press credentials. And we're going to find out the inside scoop of what happened behind the scenes. Of course, Justify winning the Triple Crown. And Don, I know you and I watched the race, and you and I talked earlier today. We were dead wrong.
Well, Pete, I'd have to say to you as well, it just goes to show we all picked 3 horses, and they weren't anywhere to be found. You got a couple of thirds out there, but it just goes to show you horse racing is a game that you can't make money.
It's so hard to make money, especially with a particular race like that. And personally, for me, all I really cared about was beating either one of you two. So that's all I really cared about going through. When he turns for home, he's got that lead. I'm just going, all right, there's Don's horse, there's Doug's horse, where am I? And that's all I cared about in that stretch. So,
well, you were reticent about picking Justify, though. Pete the Prophet, our guest, by the way, our resident horse race handicapper. But you were a little reticent about Justify yourself, though.
I didn't like him at all.
Yeah.
I really felt that he was probably going the other way after that Preakness race. And, once again, and this goes to a deeper conversation, but it's very similar to American Pharaoh. And, back in the day when you were running these racehorses and they're running, amazing fractions, Secretariat and Affirmed and, all those ones that would run Seattle Flew, even though he didn't run a very fast Belmont. They had racehorse times in their other races. They were blazing. And American Pharaoh never had that, and neither has Justify. American Pharaoh's last race was actually really like it was a good time, the Breeders' Cup, and so you could see a little something there. But these 2 races to win the Triple Crown have been walks in the park. I mean, There's been no competition. I mean, these horses can run 113 to 6 furlongs, going backwards. Why you would be 3-4 lengths off that pace is completely mind-boggling to me. The race is over. I don't know how you guys saw it, but when they first put the opening quarter up of 23 and some change, I was like, okay, here we go. This guy's going down. Then he throws the 48, so he slowed it up. I go, oh, all right, well, I'm not sure now. Then they put the 113 up. Race is over. I mean, forget it. Just walk around, and it was, it was exciting, but it was also a little bit boring.
It was a tremendous weekend for New York, and as you pointed out, 90,000 people on hand, and it turned out to be a relatively good day. It wasn't a rainy day like we anticipated that they had, at the Kentucky Derby and also down in Baltimore. But after the race is all over and all the celebrities had a chance to chip in, what happened? We have a big controversy about whether there was blocking and illegal riding.
It really is amazing when I really, there was nothing after the race. I was there, so there was nothing, there was no really conversation. You really hear anything. And then once again, you have a little bit of a sore loser thing. When California Chrome lost
right.
a bunch of years ago, and now Mike Rapoli. And the interesting thing about the Mike Rapoli thing is, he had 2 horses in that race. He was trying to do the exact same thing. He was running the one, which is called a rabbit, which has been done since 1940. That's what you do. You send out a horse to kill another one, and then the closer comes and picks up the pieces. Well, he was doing the exact same thing to set up his horse, except that his speed horse didn't have that kind of speed, hit the gate badly at the start, couldn't get into it. The jockey said that just as much. He couldn't get there. And I just thought that was really bad sportsmanship. And the other thing, with the other horse like being a blocking back, I don't even it made no difference whatsoever in that race. And it's such a false argument as to like trying to put a hole in the race or say something. The horse won for fun. It made no difference at any point in that race what Justify stablemate was doing. And I will tell you, that's quite peculiar, because even the owner of I already forgot the name of the horse that was Justify's stablemate that went out for the lead early. Even he said, like, listen, I got talked into the race. It's on me. I never should have been in that race.
Yeah.
and he shouldn't have been in that race. And he's going out for the lead. He's wide, 3-4 wide into the first turn. Very, very odd. It's kind of, now I get why you might think that there might have been something going on, and there certainly might have been, but nothing ever developed for it to even become an issue. So it's typical.
Doug?
Yeah, my thought, Pete and Don, just watching, as they broke from the post, we were talking about how the number one post isn't preferred, but boy, Mike Smith took Justify right out, and really no blocking at all there. He just went right out, and that was it. Walk in the park, like you said, Pete, almost no sweat at all on the horse. I think he was sweating more going into the gate. I think they mentioned the woman on the horse, Donna Brothers, said, a little bit there, but after that, boy, just calm as can be. It looked like he had another gear he could have gone to down the stretch, and he didn't have to.
It was interesting that when he broke from the inside, if anyone ever watches Secretariat's Belmont, he breaks from the inside and does not break that well, but bulls to the front. This horse, it almost looks like they put the gate out a little bit because he broke great and went right over to the, like he kind of went in a little bit and was already up by 2 and then Mike Smith nicely, goes outside a little bit, just moves him out a couple of pads and that was it. But he had it's really brilliant race riding by Mike because he ends up putting up an early quarter that will frustrate most horses, and then so they're not going to go right after him, but then he slows it up in pedestrian-like fashion, and then it's just it was so much like American Pharaoh, except that the only thing, and briefly, even in American Pharaoh's race, that someone came to him and made it look like maybe there was something. In this race, when Gronkowski makes that big move on the inside, you think, okay, maybe we get something here, but he had just had plenty left in the tank.
Well, Pete, if you chart, and so many people do, you look at the 3 races, and they were identical. Smith, I congratulate him, 52 years of age, and to be in the physical shape he's in, to race the horses the way he has. But Kentucky Derby, and then the Preakness, and of course now Belmont. He jumps out, first race in the mud in Kentucky, but he gets to the front and just keeps on going.
And what's really, really impressive with him, and was also a little bit like American Pharaoh, they have a lot in common, was that, actually in his first race, he was rated off. He was second, or he was up there, but he was just right off it. And so this horse can also rate. It's not like he's a Seattle Slew, like I'm sprinting, come and get me. He's very tractable, and you showed it. And even in the Preakness, though he had the lead, there was someone on his inside the whole way. So this horse can kind of do whatever you want. He's kind of push button like that, and Mike knows exactly what to do with this horse. So, I'm glad he won. I have a really hard time when I've been reading some of the New York people here that say he's one of the greats. I have a very I can't even put him in that category by any means. Someone even put him above Affirmed, which I thought was, really, really bold to do that, especially at this particular point. And, again, it's just this racing has changed so much that these races are, they're no longer really fast, and they're just, won by, the Preakness is no longer a hard race. You almost win the first one, you're almost going for the Triple Crown right away going forward.
Yeah, I didn't realize Mike Smith had that many races in New York. I guess they said he won over 1,000 at the New York tracks. And then I think he had a back injury. I didn't realize that till I was reading up on him. He was in a hospital for a long time back in the 90s. Where has he been racing the last few years? Or where did he kind of, after he left New York, where did he go? California, wasn't it?
He's in California. Yeah, he was really doing his, he was a big rider here, of course, and was doing fabulous. And then, and now since he's been in California, he doesn't ride as much. He does sort of what Jerry Bailey did towards the end of his career, where you pick up 3 mounts a day, and they're the better races, and you're just out there. It's kind of what Gary Stevens does. You don't need to be as hungry.
Right.
You want to stay safe. So that's where he's been out there, which is why he has those connections to all these great horses that he's ridden over the years.
How do you rate him as an all-time jock then? Top 10 or not quite there yet?
I'll maybe. I got to tell you, there are a hell of a lot of good jocks. From you're thinking way back when. It's really hard to kind of to kind of compare that, I think, you got, Cordero and Shoemaker and Pinkai and, there's just so many of them that.
Don't forget Hartak. Don't forget Hartak.
Yeah, Hartak.
I will not forget Hartak. Absolutely right. There's so many of them that it's really hard. I think there's a very fine line there. I don't look at that like you look at, let's say, maybe LeBron James or a Jordan as the best ever, and then there's a kind of a gap back to the rest. Here, I just look like it's kind of really, really close. Each has their own strength and weakness.
One thing I think they said this morning, and even last night on some of the late newscasts I saw, Bob is he went to the Haskell, and they're pretty much saying that this horse is going to continue along the same pattern. So we may see him here at Monmouth, which is only about 15 minutes from me. So I'll get a chance to see him if he does run in the Haskell. I'd love to see him happen.
It looks like that. People joke that what the Haskell is called is the Bob Baffert Invitational, because basically Bob wins that race every single year. He brings someone there, and they have a walk in the park. And I think that he's also, he brought, who was it, Arrogate, or he brought someone to the Travers,
right?
And that didn't go well. And so I don't think he's got, he's not going to do the same thing where I think he did the Haskell and then came right back in the Travers. And I'm actually very surprised that he's not retired, because this horse is now $75 million, and I mean I don't know what else really there is to do with the horse, and I don't know what Bob does if he runs in the Haskell. He probably needs one more race until the Breeders' Cup. I'm a little surprised they'll go there, but the Haskell is his race. I mean, who's going to run against him there? Nobody.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Pete and Don. I mean, I know he did it with Faro. But even then, I was thinking, I think we talked about it, you have nothing left to prove. You won the Triple Crown. What if the horse, unfortunately, breaks a leg or just gets injured? All that breeding money goes away. Why would the owners allow that?
It's great that it's a because it really, maybe it adds a little bit more. If also now they have the term Grand Slam, which is winning the Triple Crown, right, and then winning the Breeders' Cup, which is what American Pharoah did. So it might add some, but normally these deals are done before the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, he already had this deal in place.
Right.
If you won a Triple Crown, it was a bonus on top of it, but he already had the breeding deal in place.
So you think about the money you'd win. If he runs in the Haskell, was it $1 million? He will win $600,000. Maybe they'll bump up the purse a little bit. Maybe he wins another race, and then the Breeders' Cup is $6 million. So he wins 3 or 4 out of that. It seems to be pittance as to what can happen. Of course, these horses are insured, but it would just be tragic if something happens, and that's part of the problem with the game. Sometimes is your stars leave. I'm glad he's running. I'm glad American Pharoah ran. I hope Justified continues his good ways here and brings some crowds out and gets a little bit of the fan participation that's so sorely needed in the sport.
Well, I follow suit right there. I think it's a great thing for Monmouth Park, and the Haskell is really their big race over the summer. And for the people that are working and own and have association with Monmouth Park, this is the biggest race. When Pharoah came, it was a tremendous turnout. It'll be a tremendous turnout again, and Baffert knows that. And at the same time, what you just said is absolutely true. These horses don't run anymore. There's so much money involved in breeding and everything else that you don't get to see it. You don't get to see these kinds of horses after the 3-year-old's finished.
And you don't get those kind of horses that gave you the buzz as 2-year-olds, like you used to get, let's say, again with Seattle Slew, or Secretary of the Affirmed and Alidar. You got a buzz, and you followed them, and you couldn't wait for them to start their 3-year-old career. Now Justified basically has run as many races in whatever 111 days, whatever it was, than some of the horses that started in the Derby ran total in their life. So you're just not following anybody and getting a rooting interest in somebody. You don't follow them through their career. Back in the day they'd run their maiden, and then they'd win a Saratoga race for a 2-year-old. Then they'd run the Champagne and win that. And then they winter down in Florida and win a couple of those races and come up. And now it's just they're all over the place, and you just don't get any following, and they kind of go away. You don't even remember. And American Pharoah was actually just a kind of was very different, broke the mold in that way.
Pete, I hope the NYRA people treated you nice with your press pass. Were you well treated by them?
They were very excited. They asked me to say hello to Don, and I said,
Not me.
I don't know anybody named Don. No, well, first of all, they said that you're an embarrassment. But they were fine with Don. They did say hello.
They remember
to Don.
when I worked there 30 years ago, right?
Yeah, they're still a little shook up from that. They've definitely
So am I.
stopped that. Yeah, they definitely stopped that intern program. They shut that down after you left. But I don't know if you guys know about what had happened. Afterwards, once again, they had a lot of problems getting people in and out because
we were going to ask you about that. How was the traffic?
The traffic wasn't that bad. It was, they now have everything kind of going in one direction. And my mom, who lives right across the street from there, took her over an hour to get to her place because no one would kind of let her go in, and that's something else. But the train, once again, they had signal problems, and that started about 11:30, 12 o'clock in the morning. So people got there really late, and then getting home was a disaster. They had the same problems, and everything was, it's just amazing that they just can't run it. And I heard a lot of things about what was going on, and even what I could see inside the stands. It's amazing how, they have one time a year to get this right. Get someone from Churchill Downs to show you how to run an event and how to make it smooth. Fix the plumbing. Do something. It's sometimes it's just very embarrassing.
Well, I'll tell you the interesting. You made a point there a second ago that there's no a combination of races that you can really get to be a fan of it and go from one race to another race. But that's the problem with the industry. Unless you're running in the Kentucky Derby or the Preakness or the Belmont, no, the people, like fringe people, don't even know who was on the track. They had no idea what's going on in racing.
No, none whatsoever, and that's part of racing's problem, and that's not gonna, we're just in a new era with that. I will say the one thing that NYRA has done, which they, way back they never really did. That card was quite a card, and some of the races were just unbelievable. The turf race, which was, I think, the race before.
Yeah, it was a good race before. It was 4 wide going to the wire. Yeah.
It was. I believe that if you look at
Manhattan.
the chart, I think the Manhattan. I think the first 6 horses were a neck apart. I think the whole field was within 3 lengths. There was like 9 or 10 of them, and so they had a couple of those races. The card was great, and overall everything worked out well in that way, and that gets their betting going, and so they do well with that. But NYRA is good to cut it at 90,000 because that seems to be their limit for sure.
Well, we certainly are entering a new era. Thursday morning at Monmouth Park, New Jersey gambling will be open for everybody. You can go up there and do all the betting you want to. The governor signed the new bill. And Thursday morning, it'll be on tap. You'll be able to go bet on anything you want.
My friend went there all excited on I guess it was Saturday, because he'd heard that it was supposed to start on Friday. So he got there Saturday. He was all excited. It's looking forward to betting the Subway Series and all this stuff, and wanted to see the whole setup. And then, you walk in and nothing happens. And now,
well, the governor said right away that he was not going to sign the bill until this week. So your friend didn't read the papers, because it was quite obvious that they were not going to sign the bill to make it available. And when they did sign it today, they pushed it back to Thursday. So Thursday's when it officially goes into effect.
Were they looking for something? Was the governor looking for some sort of thing? Why
no, I don't think he was. I think it was pretty much all set up by Christie. He wanted to do it Labor Day weekend 2 years ago, and he thought he had it all. Right. He thought he had it all set up, and then they turned him away and said, "No, we're not going to do it." And but they had all the instruments in place, so that when it went through this time, all the governor had to do was sign it and get the agreement, in the House.
Well, it really is a whole new era now, and it's going to be it's going to bring some excitement over to Monmouth. So I'll be looking forward, Don, when you go, to let me know how it's going over there. You said it's one of my favorite tracks anywhere to go to. The racing there has been a little light over the last few years, but I'd be curious to see what that setup's like, and hopefully we can have another conversation about that and how that's going.
Oh, we will.
I think it's going to be a home run for New Jersey. I really do. When it got into effect this quickly and coming up on Thursday, I think the other states, New York, just had a big meeting up I guess, in Albany and so forth and so on. Joe Torre went up there to represent baseball. They'll drag their feet a little bit. Somebody will have to get paid off, I think, in New York. But it's going to be everywhere. It's just like everything else. You get one, it's going to keep going.
It'll be everywhere. And I'm sorry, go ahead, Doug.
I was going to say, I think you're going to ask the same thing. Is this going to be all the tracks or just Monmouth and Jersey?
As far as I know, it starts at Monmouth. I don't know whether it will go beyond that, but right now, Monmouth is the big track in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's amazing that they have that. That they're the sole beneficiary of this at the moment. I think there's maybe some part of Atlantic City is going to get it also, but as of right now, this is it. And I mean, what a boom for them. I mean, amazing.
It's going to be a boom for them. It's going to be a boom for Atlantic City, which had been shutting casinos down, and now they've got more of a competitive angle in Atlantic City. They haven't just. I mean, they were so overproduced with gambling that it was very tough to make money, even the gamblers to make money. But you're right. I mean, it's gonna hit Atlantic City next, and it's gonna be a great thing for New Jersey. And it'll be, hey, look, why not get the tax money? I mean,
sure.
It's the silliest thing in the world not to have it.
It's ridiculous. Everybody's playing anyway. The bookies have made, everyone's playing. Why wouldn't you just put it out there for all and
billions and billions and billions of dollars, just the Super Bowl, for crying out loud.
Yep. I mean, it's a no-brainer, and that's the one thing, you talk about New York dragging their feet. Believe me, there's going to be a panel, and then we're going to study that panel, and then we have to do a restudy of the original panel, and then we're going to have to do a conference, and then that conference, we've got to study all the panels. So it's very similar to what happened after 9/11, when they were definitely going to build that Aqueduct Casino. That was happening immediately, and it took, 10 years, 9 years, whatever it took them to do it. It'll be the same thing there, but I'm glad that, Delaware Park, their racetrack, I don't know if they
started last week.
They did, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what happens with them, but it's going to be really, really big for Jersey. It's going to be so much fun. And I'm looking forward to it.
The Meadowlands was they jumped up and down. They were supposed to have it 2 years ago,
right?
And so finally they got it started. We'll see what happens.
It really will be exciting when it all goes. So when you go, Don, you gotta fill me in, okay?
Will do.
Yeah, the casinos are going to get sports books like Vegas, right? I mean, that's part of the deal, Don. That they'll get Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Every hotel will have one.
Yeah.
Good. Yep. Because that was the big thing. If you don't
stuff.
Oh.
play any table games in Vegas, in Atlantic City, there was nothing really to do there. But sports books, that's going to add a lot of people coming down there now.
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to be just
definitely will.
It's going to be just like Vegas. I mean, that's what it. Atlantic City was the first one when they opened up Atlantic City, and then of course it jumped around, and now just like Atlantic City, there's almost a city, a relatively large city that you can go to that doesn't have gambling.
Yeah.
Right.
They fake it and say it's on a boat or it's on a pier or on something, but it's there.
Yeah, it's there, or they'll do certain gambling where it's either the video game, or they'll do something where I know one of the states got away with like a horse racing video sort of thing that they were doing. So
video horse racing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so there's ways of getting around it, and but now it's all out there as it should be. I saw that the commissioner of basketball was looking for a little little cut of the action. I'm kind of curious as how that'll go at some particular point.
Well, it seems to me, I think it was when I was outside of St. Louis. I'm not sure now, but they had to close for 2 hours. They had some kind of a technical stipulation within the regs to have the gambling, but they had to shut down for 2 hours and then reopen up again. So they closed from like 4 to 6 in the morning or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So exciting times, new times now. Finally,
I haven't heard anything though, Don. For Florida, our place down here, we got a little dog track down the road from us. I keep saying, put the sports books in the horse and the dog tracks. Be huge, but I've heard nothing about that.
I just said to Pete a second ago. Once you get it in one place, it just takes a very, very short time.
But you know how politics works in Florida, Don. It's a little different ball game down here. I don't know what the delay is, but it's like New York, Pete. They got to go through studies. They got to, plus they have to get the the reservations. The Indian casinos. They own a lot of the land that it's on, so they have to get an agreement with them too.
Well, the one thing about this though is that because it's so in the news, such a hot topic that anyone not in it is going to be almost embarrassed, and
right.
So they're gonna really start acting. I mean, even New York and Florida, I think they're going to see, especially when the first returns come out from Monmouth and being run by, I believe it's Ladbroke, being run by a professional organization. I mean, I think the money's going to flow in, and people are going to look at that and go, "What are we doing? Let's get moving on this stuff." There's a lot of money laying out here.
Yeah,
I agree.
Just got a few minutes left. Let's do a minute or so, guys. On, of course, you got another big sporting event. You had the Triple Crown, of course. You go out east about 150 miles to Shinnecock. You have the U.S. Open this Thursday, starting. Don, I guess you're not going to make the trip out there on the train, huh?
Well, unfortunately, it's a 2-hour ride on the train, and that's if you. First of all, I'm an hour from New York, so I'd have to get over to New York, and then it's another 2 hours on the train out to Shinnecock. And if you drive out. My son and grandson went out to Shinnecock the last time it was played there, and it took them 4.5 hours to get there and 5.5 hours to get home. So I think I'll watch it on television.
I think that's a good move. I know that once again they've set up, they've have all these because they had such problems last time. They're now setting it up, differently, and they have a train stop different and all this stuff different. But until they actually run it, it doesn't matter. And I thought when they were at Shinnecock. Last time, I thought they had some other problems with the course or something.
Yeah, the greens were not good.
Yeah, the greens were really a problem, and they've lengthened the course a little bit. They've also rectified. It was an embarrassment, to be honest with you, the last time they were there, and they have cured that problem. So it should be, there's free parking at the airport. They do everything in the world to try to accommodate the customer. But at the same time, it's just a long way out there.
It is a long way out there, and but let me tell you, boy, the people here on Long Island. I mean, of course, people are coming in from all over for it. Boy, people are psyched for this thing. They're all ready. They got their tickets. They got their plans. They got their parties, and they get out there first thing in the morning.
Right.
It'll be it's going to be quite a show, and I think. I don't know when, but I'm pretty sure they have Bethpage Black. They're coming back to
Bethpage, right? Yeah, that's
yes, they do.
Big,
and of course, the biggest part of the audience early on will be of the golfing crew. Will be rooting for Mickelson. He's finished close so many times and just never got over the hump. So they'll be rooting for him, and he knows right now he's at the tail end of an opportunity to win it. So they'll be rooting for him. But Dustin Hoffman, who won yesterday at St. Jude, is 11-1. Rory McIlroy is 12-1. Jordan Spieth is 14-1. Day is 14-1. Thomas.
What is Tiger?
Tiger
I think
is
it was 20, wasn't it? 20-1. That's what I saw. I thought
Mickelson is 33-1. I don't even see Tiger. Oh yeah, here he is. Tiger is 20-1. You're right.
20. Yeah, I thought I saw that.
20-1.
Yeah.
My opinion. I'd like to know your guys real quick before we get off. I don't think Tiger ever wins another tournament again. Personally,
I don't think he wins in a major. I think he might win a regular tournament. Although I agree with you, Pete. I don't think he's got the head is still getting in the way of his game at the end of it. Yep, I agree.
Well, I pretty much have to agree. I think he's done a remarkable job to get back in these last few tournaments this year when he came back way he has, and to be in contention. And holy crowd, does he draw the crowd or does he draw the crowd? I mean, it's television. Wow. Golf needs him desperately to keep playing.
They definitely do. It's the best thing. And when he was in it, a couple of months ago, right up until the very end, that was riveting golf. And like you said, boy, there's no one that follows him more. And whoever's got the coverage needs him there. it's Tiger all the time, and it just makes it just all that much more exciting to bring it in. So I hope he does well. I just don't think he's got the chops anymore to pull it off.
Pete,
well, the other thing that I'm really happy about, and I don't know whether Doug and I talked about this. I know you and I didn't talk about it, Pete, but one of the disappointing things to me is when you have the Masters, you have to wait so long to get the actual live coverage on TV. They really restrict TV, but they're not going to do that with the Open. I mean, Thursday they're going to start at 9:30 in the morning, and it's going to be on FS1. Fox has got this one. And Friday they're going to start at 10 o'clock, and Saturday they're going to start at 11 o'clock, and Sunday they're going to start also at 11 o'clock. So you're going to see as much Open golf as you want to see, and it looks like perfect conditions. It's supposed to be somewhere between around 75, not much chance of rain, not too much humidity. Boy, it was hot. Was it hot down there in Memphis, Tennessee for the St. Jude yesterday? Holy cow. But it's not going to be that way in New York. It's going to be really moderate temperatures and should be a wonderful, wonderful tournament.
Sounds like, perfect weather, and the key thing for there is also the wind. It sounds like it's going to be a very light, it's not going to be a big, they've certainly had that problems there. So it seems like perfect conditions. So it'll be a ton of fun to see what happens.
Pete, before we wrap up, I just want to get your thoughts, not only on the Caps, of course, winning the Cup. We talked about that last week, but is Barry Trotz going to the Islanders?
Did that happen?
I was asking you. Do you think he will?
I don't. I thought you found something out that I didn't know.
No, I know his contract is up, and that's the thought. Lou Lamoriello is going to throw a lot of money at him. Yeah.
That's really interesting. It's such wide open, and could you imagine? Winning the Cup and then leaving,
they wouldn't give him a contract extension all year, so he might be able to say, "Hey, I won a Cup. I'm going elsewhere." I mean, who knows?
Well, I
just have to think Lou is going to be looking for somebody that's going to be a little bit on the younger side. I don't think he
believe that too.
I think that he, and I'm not taking anything away from him. As you said, he won the Cup. He did a terrific job. And it really overcame some tremendous odds, starting with Columbus right on through. And so I congratulate him all the way up and down. But I just think Lou's going to be looking for somebody that's going to give him more permanency.
I believe that also, though I could turn him. I mean, I don't know if when one of the Sutter brothers is still, I know he's in the running. I don't know if he would go that way. But I don't think Barry Trotz is actually, I don't know what kind of big name he is. He's the reason why they didn't give him an extension is because of that, because of the failures in the past. So I don't know if they think all that much of him to reach out in that way. So it'll be interesting to see, where they turn with it. But I'm with you, Don. I think they're going to go a little bit, younger, one of these up and coming people, almost like even what the Rangers did, picking someone highly regarded as someone that can build. Now the Islanders
out of college
can't build. They have to go and they gotta win now. And obviously the most important thing is to sign Tavares. That's
well. The other interesting thing for both of you two is that look what happened with Joe Girardi. I mean, he almost got to the World Series, and of course did not get there, which meant he was let go by Cashman. And the same thing in Washington. I mean, he won the Stanley Cup. Can you afford not to rehire a guy that just won the Stanley Cup for you even if you only gave him a 1 year with a 1 year possible extension? You pretty much have to at least try, right?
You think you'd have to try, something. But now he's in the driver's seat, right? I mean, would he take a year extension now? No, so he'll be reaching out for some big money as he should. But boy, I could see him. Well, I can't. I guess there's always someone out there who's willing to pay the big bucks. I'm just not sure of his worth in that way. But that's just a personal opinion.
Well, Pete, great job again covering all three races, and you're inside Belmont. Always great to go there. You're only a short walk, so appreciate that. But we'll keep an eye on the next big race. We'll find out what Justify's going to do next, and if it's the Haskell, we'll do a show before that.
That would be great, and always a pleasure.
By that time, we'll have a real look at the off-track betting and all the things that are going on in Monmouth Park by the time the Haskell comes up.
Exactly. That in a couple of months, we'll know everything that needs to be known. Great.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Pete the Prophet joining us, and Don Henderson, good talking to you. We'll talk to you next week after the U.S. Open, and thanks for watching, everybody.